we found our like unique value proposition and how to position the product. In year two and three, we grew maybe 10. And then from year 3 to 4, we grew like 1,300%. I think it was like 150,000 in sales to like 1.8 million. And most of that was finding like how to position the product in the right ways on digital marketing platforms. So like once we found it on, say, Facebook, we found some keywords that worked for us as well. We were able to just increase spend and keep scaling.
This podcast is sponsored by Klaviyo, the email and text marketing platform that puts D2C brands in control. If you're the leader of a D2C brand, you need a platform that hustles as hard as you do. Klaviyo unlocks the power of your e-commerce data so you can personalize and automate messages that keep customers coming back. D2C brands communicate with Klaviyo. Start for free at klaviyo.com/DTC. That's KLAVIYO.com/DTC. Hello and welcome to the D2C podcast. I'm Eric Dick, and today I am extremely happy to have one of my personal favorite brands on the show, Bushbalm. We've connected with David Gaylord, the CEO of Bushbalm, which is one of Canada's fastest growing D2C brands, on pace for 8 figures in 2021. Now, Bushbalm is an evolving natural skincare product line, specifically, but not limited to, focusing on the areas that are often commonly ignored. David is a true thought leader when it comes to scaling D2C brands, and he's fully embraced the concept of building in public while he builds on pubic. Again, sorry for the pun there. Welcome to the show, David. Could you start a little bit with your brand's origin story?
Yeah, so the brand started while I was working at Shopify. So it started actually about 5 years ago. And me and another coworker at Shopify, as well as his wife, started it. So the origin story is kind of funny, but we just had an article written about us, and we never said this line, but someone said it was something that he couldn't find at room service. So what happened is my business partner, Tim, he used his beard oil all over his body, and it basically started this conversation of maybe we could make something for your pubic region or your armpits, or like moisturizing places you don't normally moisturize. And it all started while they were on their honeymoon, and he was essentially trying to freshen up.
Just amazing. That's such, I think especially as a man, you do what needs to be done. And so I like that realization you had, that when you actually take care of things, it works out better, because when you don't use these products, you get bumps, you get irritation. I think this is something that everyone can kind of low key relate to.
Yeah, totally. And it's one thing that often most people like won't talk about. Ingrown hairs, like razor burn. No one really talks about it. And that was in the early days kind of what we were after and what we were trying to build. But 5 years ago, we didn't actually know what it was. Like, it honestly took us 3 years at least to understand our like value proposition and how to position it, and even like changing the formulas. It took at least 3 years to kind of get it right. And we're still always changing it, but for now it's made to stay, I suppose.
Amazing. And now, shout out to Shopify. I know my brother works at Shopify. I was saying in the early part there, I think he's been there for 5 years now. And the amount of sort of freedom you have in a company like that to start brands, like I know they're actually encouraging employees, like employees are supposed to have their own Shopify stores. Can you talk a little bit about building your company sort of out of that environment? Like what was it like when you were at Shopify full time and you started to have a product that you knew had the chance to take off? Were they fully supportive?
Yeah. The company is like amazing for kind of supporting you. And actually, we started Bushbalm because internally at the company, they had a build a business competition. There used to be the public one that was much larger, obviously. And then they did an internal one for employees to learn the platform and like see how it works and understand what like a merchant or an entrepreneur goes through. So that's what we started. We didn't win the competition, but it was like a 2-month period of sales, and I don't think we had any. But I think long term, we might have won the long term competition in general. But yeah, no, a company's so supportive, and it's one of those things where I don't think you truly understand entrepreneurship and what an entrepreneur goes through until you like lose $500 on Facebook ads, or you lose like inventory goes rotten, or something happens and ruins your whatever you have. You kind of need to go through the pain to understand like how difficult it really is.
And it's something in this industry, we come from an agency. I've been in performance marketing kind of my whole career. You're always walking the line with your team where you want to foster entrepreneurship. And it's funny, Pilot House now, the agency we work for, essentially views itself as a incubator in some ways, because it's like they really want to take advantage of everyone's entrepreneurial nature and allow them to funnel it kind of into the company and into things that benefit the sort of company ecosystem. Is this kind of a philosophy that you've maintained with your company that you had at Shopify, where you're sort of encouraging employees to have that entrepreneurial mindset?
Yeah, I sometimes I don't go with like the entrepreneurial wording, but in general, I just go with like the skill building side of it. So many people like on our team in general is like come work for us and have opportunities to build certain skills, and then in the future you will be hopefully more desirable for say other companies, or you'll grow and flourish here. So yeah, we're always just like, encouraging people to like take their learning to the next level, whether that is with the company, with another company, or in entrepreneurship. So yeah, I try to get that from Shopify, but I don't have a they have just like the easiest play to say like start a store. Like it's such a nice way to get people to use the product internally because it's so straightforward. But with Bushbalm, we have kind of less of that and more about, hey, try to learn and get better at supply chain or whatever it is.
I love it. How big is your team now?
So we're 6 full-time employees right now, and then we have quite a few part-time employees kind of across different places, and then we have some consultants we work with. So kind of some ad consultants. We have a couple more strategic consultants that we work with quite regularly that we got introduced to, and then we've outsourced a lot of the business as well when it comes to kind of 3PL fulfillment. We have a good 10 to 15 different manufacturers we work with, kind of outsource some chemistry as well. But yeah, 6 full-time all the time, and then the rest either part-time or consultants.
Amazing. Can you talk a little bit about your growth? So I was reading in the research ahead of time just how fast you guys have been growing. I see a quote about you talking about it's kind of shocking how quickly the demand has increased. What do you credit that level of growth for? Is it hitting a great product at the right time while the market is kind of exploding for the demand for this, or is it been your digital marketing that really got it in front of the right people?
Yeah, I would say for the most part, we found our like unique value proposition and how to position the product. So that took us like imagine year two and three, we grew maybe 10%, and then from year 3 to 4, we grew like 1,300%, something like that. So we went from I think it was like 150,000 in sales to like 1.8 million, and most of that was finding like how to position the product in the right ways on digital marketing platforms. So like once we found it on say Facebook, we found some keywords that worked for us as well. We were able to just increase spend and keep scaling. And what we realized is we sound like a very niche brand. Like originally we were like pubic care. So that sounds like very niche. But what we realized is like a lot of people go through the challenges that we're kind of solving. So like a lot of people get ingrown hairs, razor burn, hyperpigmentation. So they're very niche sounding, but they're actually really big markets. So we've been able to say hit at the right time, and take advantage, especially of like there's a lot of chemical or alcohol based products, and we've gone in with like the natural approach for kind of the same problem, and we've just positioned it that way, and it's worked really well. And then on top of that, it's a market that seems to be quite large, and people kind of go through these skin challenges all the time.
How much have you leveraged sort of pain points? Because, when I think of even just saying razor burn or ingrown hairs or all of these things, they're so evocative and there's something people have experienced. They're things that people don't necessarily like to talk about. My mind goes to like Facebook or native ads where you would show something like close up and you don't know what it is and it just gets people to click it. Like how much have you leveraged pain points and act like that visceral nature of your specific pain points in your marketing?
Yeah. So the way we've done it is we look at like skin concerns people have, and then we're building products for those concerns. And in our marketing, we're actually, I would say less about being vague and more about being very specific. So where it's like, it solves this, it takes this many weeks, or like, here are the ingredients and here's what it's looking to solve. So we really do tackle the pain points. And one thing we realized too is not only are we're very specific about our products and the names of the products, and that helps with other things like search. So people are searching the issue, the challenge with product at the end or treatment, and we come up for those things as well. So instead of being like product name based, we've actually gone with like solution based names, which has helped on kind of other parts of the business that we didn't even realize, like SEO.
I love it. So you got Bushbalm. Obviously, you've just launched your tush product as well, right?
Yeah, so
My
we just
wife is
launched it.
keeping very close tabs.
Yeah, we launched it about 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and it's actually our first launch into a completely new product line. So skin firming, kind of elasticity. So that product line is totally different than what we have done before. And our plan with the business is to basically, we didn't want to put ourselves and position ourselves just as the pubic care company. So like hair removal below the belt. Like for us, we're actually about kind of what we're calling it skincare everywhere. And we want to really tackle skin concerns that you might have, no matter how niche they sound, but also like no matter how niche the location might be. So there weren't many products for pubic care. We made lots of products. What we're realizing right now is there's not many products for like underarm care. So we're making like more specific products for that specific area. So yeah, our plan is instead of going hyper focused on the original, it's like let's expand it and do what we've done before in different places.
I love it. I'm excited for the naming convention there. Is it going to be Pit Bomb or because Bushbalm and Tush, it is Tush Bomb, the new product, or is it just called?
It's actually Tush,
It's
but
just called Tush.
I had a lot of fighting with the team on this because I wanted to call it Tush Bomb because Tush Bomb by Bushbalm is like a beautiful name.
It is.
And the name Bushbalm actually started because we wanted to launch a balm. That was our first product we wanted back in the day, but we realized the chemistry on that was much more difficult than say doing an oil to start. So we ended up doing an oil, and to this day we still don't have a balm. So Bush Balm is originally we wanted it to be a balm, and we never got around to
What
it.
makes something a balm? I just got to know. Is it the wax in it? Like what makes it a balm?
Yeah, I'm not actually sure, but yeah, it's like more closer to like obviously a cream would have way more chemistry involved than just doing like an oil blend. So a balm is closer to a cream where there's much more mixing and chemistry required for stability. So yeah, we never got around to it, and probably for the better, I'd say.
Amazing. So with on the line of these products, you now sorry, it was 6 products that you have now?
I'm not sure how many SKUs we actually have. Six plus we're probably at close to 10 SKUs total.
Amazing. And how every time you add a SKU, how much complexity does it add to your business, like overall across the whole piece? Because you've got so many different touch points with each new product that you add, whether it's new suppliers, it's entirely new marketing campaigns in some ways. Like, can you just talk a little bit about what it's like to add SKUs and the complexity it adds to the business?
Yeah. So in general, the complexity of the business, what I've realized over the years is actually early on, we were full time at Shopify and we didn't have time really for the business. So what happened was we had to make these decisions and understand like the trade offs. So if you do D2C and wholesale, that's almost twice as much work to manage. So we made the trade off and we said, we're not doing any wholesale to start, we're only D2C. So we built it out that way. So on the supply chain side, like most people went through this last year, we got so busy, we scaled so fast, supply chain became so difficult to manage. Shipping was delayed. We were dealing with all kinds of manufacturers. So for us, we don't actually have a calculus to it, but how I see it is anytime you bring on a new marketing channel, you really almost have to bring on a new employee. Maybe it's like a part-time employee, but you kind of have to bring someone else to manage it because one person can't manage all these social channels. It becomes much too much work for one person. And product development for us has been kind of the same, where if you bring out a new product and it doesn't sell, but you have to reorder certain amounts, it becomes really hard. So we're pretty strategic about kind of our product roadmap, knowing what products we need to really move and what products can kind of sit on the shelf and it's less risky to do. But yeah, anytime you bring on more products, and if you look at our website right now, we're going through a challenge of how do we position all these products to make it easy for people to understand what to buy. So the merchandising component, all of a sudden with new product lines, is much different. And the selling proposition used to be so clear. Here's exactly what it is, because it was only for one product. So now we're getting into the world of landing pages. We've spun up kind of 10, 15 different landing pages that we have to use to convert our ads and move them through the funnel. So yeah, new products, new supply chain issues, new marketing channels, they all add like more complexity
New
altogether.
cross sells and upsells and things like that, I imagine. Are you doing much of that
Yeah.
in your purchase flows?
Yeah, we have an app called I think it's something Candy Rack Upsell, I believe it's
I
called.
just learned about Candy Rack yesterday. We're trying to get in touch with them about sponsoring the newsletter. So if you know them, send them a good note.
Yeah, we've had a good time using them. We're usually we don't use many apps on the store, and this has been one that's actually been quite effective. So we've set those up. A lot of it's manual right now, but in the future, probably in the next 3 months, we're launching a new website that will do much more flows and custom builds for kind of we're calling it the routines that people should buy. If you have X skin concern, you want to solve it with a certain routine. So we really want to get people on kind of the routine that will help. But our site right now doesn't do it so well. So we're going to custom build one pretty soon.
I love that. And that idea of routine is how you're going to think about categorizing and making the customer experience around your products.
Yeah, exactly. And then for us, it's like longevity, right? Because a routine becomes part of your kind of daily routine, your weekly routine, whatever it is. So we want people to look at our products as an essential item that they're using because it's part of their, say, skincare routine. So that's how we're looking at it, and we just have to build the tech to support it. But right now, we're not quite there.
Love it. So, uh, you know, not to get too graphic, but during quarantine, and there weren't as many social situations. So there probably weren't as many occasions to properly take care of the neglected parts of your body. Are you seeing like a boost in sales kind of as the world opens back up?
Not right now. What I've said is, well, Bushbalm, we have a few different slogans we say. Like one is bushy or bare, we don't care. So essentially, if you grow your hair, pubic hair, whatever it is, you might want a moisturizer down there. We also have a trimmer if you like to trim. But also we're really popular with waxing salons. So at the start of COVID, we launched a trimmer and we saw great sales for the trimmer because people were at home, they wanted a trimmer. And then now things are opening up, waxing salons are opening up. So all of the waxing salons we work with, they're buying the post wax oil that they always buy, they love. More people are buying those products. So I've said we're kind of like recession proof when it comes to pubes. They just never go to style. You're either trimming them, you're grooming them, or you're waxing them. Whatever you're doing, we've got products for you.
I love it. I was going over your Twitter feed here earlier, and a tweet stood out to me because it's something that we're experiencing on our side. You were talking about the MailChimp story, and you said you were amazed the amount of times they hit when they tested new media. And you said, makes me question sticking primarily to what others are doing for marketing. And I think that's something that people get caught up in a lot, is this idea of like a D2C playbook. And I know, you've been doing this for 5 years. I know in a lot of ways, like you're one of the people kind of writing this D2C playbook. And I wanted to know, how do you balance, trailblazing versus trying to follow kind of what others have done successfully? And where have you found the most success so far with Bushbalm of those two paths?
Yeah, I guess the most success now, or like in the early days, for us, it was hard to take risks because we weren't fully invested. We weren't taking large amounts of money out and putting it into other things. So in the early days, the biggest thing that helped sales was almost the basics. So imagine sending an email once a week, making sure you had all your email flows set up, making sure your prospecting tool worked really, really well, converted really high. Setting up those things actually made a world of difference. And now that we're at a certain size, that MailChimp podcast, it really hit because I thought, now we have this opportunity to try new things and kind of risk it in different directions. So for us, I wouldn't call it anything like trailblazing, but we're kind of taking stabs with influencers right now. And we're running a bunch of campaigns with all kinds of influencers on different channels to see and experience it. And so far, what it's done is it's returned, pretty good, but it's also like opened our eyes up to like the potential of certain things. So it's been a great experiment, and I would love to do more like that. The hard part I find is you get so into the day to day that it's hard to like take a step back and try something new because you're trying to just make the engine keep going. So yeah, I really want to set aside an X budget. For influencers, we've set aside between, usually it's 10 to 20 grand a month. And like, it's like the team go spend it on whatever you want and then just track it and we'll see like how it did. So that kind of freedom to the team has been great, but it's still really directed. So I eventually want to open it up to interesting other partnerships or ideas. Just not quite there.
I like that. I think of like laying down railroad tracks, and before you do that, you've got to clear the land in a way, right? And it's like even though you're just experimenting in all these different ways with influencers right now, you're also you're clearing the land so that when you do find something that works, you can kind of lock into it and hopefully replicate it and scale it.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to build the playbook for just something new that we've never done. So regardless, the team's learning like a ton along the way. And yeah, hopefully it does scale and we can keep doing it, right? Because that's ideal.
What platforms are you focused on in this influencer, micro influencer kind of campaign?
For the most part, we're doing a good amount on Instagram. Like if you see most of our campaigns, they'll be on Instagram. But we're really eager. We've done a few on TikTok, and the other one that we're working on, which I'm finding it takes a little bit longer, is YouTube, to find the right YouTuber that can work with us and kind of more educational. So those are the three I would say right now, mostly Instagram, but I think soon we'll have a lot of TikTok and a few bigger ones on YouTube for sure.
TikTok has just come into my life like a hurricane in the last couple weeks. And just as a platform, I haven't been sort of enamored with a platform like this as I have in a while. And it also coincided with this idea. We've been growing our user base, our listener base, our subscriber base through Facebook ads for quite a while now, since the beginning. And we just started testing into TikTok. I've started to see some of our competitors on TikTok, and we've just made the decision like this week we're going to shift some of our budget there because we're actually seeing more engaged users at a cheaper cost, kind of from the platform. So I think just always, keeping open to new channels and being willing to move some budget and testing them especially when you see initial success, it's got to be a no-brainer for people just to diversify as well, right?
Yeah, I've got like a lot of random thoughts on like diversifying, like your spend in different ways. And in the early days, I find every single human being is telling you to diversify. They're like, oh, you got to diversify. And then all of a sudden you have like a Pinterest account you're running ads on, you've got a Snapchat account, a Facebook account, you've got like a million accounts. But now we're at the point where it's like we actually have to diversify and like move away from Facebook and do Snapchat and do TikTok. And I guess one thing that people have said, they look at our business and talk like how we do certain things. And content management, I would say, is one of our greatest strengths. And everyone says like you reuse it across the board, like we use things for TikTok, for Instagram, for Facebook ads. And that's exactly, it's a no-brainer, but it's hard to actually get in the routine of doing it. So we run, we will do at least 10 new ad variations every week. And we'll run them and test them and run 10 more every single week, kind of forever. And that's been kind of great for us. But yeah, it's really just like making sure you always have new, fresh content. And TikTok's been easy to run because it's just like rerunning content that we're already using somewhere else. And it's a little different.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you do get into, that's what TikTok says, don't make videos, make TikTok. So and then as you get into the platform more, you should be able to even drive more success probably with custom stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Very cool.
But yeah, we're still learning.
But I think it's a good point not to take, if you're just starting out, this idea of diversification could really spread yourself thin. Like still focus on the fundamentals in the beginning, get yourself to a business where your option to scale really is by diversifying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we're at the stage now where we really have to spend more time diversifying. And if you looked at our like board of goals, that would be definitely one of them.
I love it. So you mentioned your content and then you went right into your ad content, which is like just whenever I hear brands talking about that kind of velocity is what we always talk about on the podcast. It's absolutely what's necessary to thrive in the current like social environment. Just with ads, you may find an ad that'll hit and it'll run for a long time, or ads also burn out these days even quicker than ever, I'm finding. So you just constantly kind of need to be feeding that machine.
Yeah, for sure. I listened to the episode, I don't know, two or three episodes ago you had. Yeah. And that's exactly it. And I don't think people truly understand the actual velocity and how quickly brands do it. Because you're exactly right. We've had some ads run for a year and a half and they've been like the most successful ads, the most spend ever. And then we've had some ads run for a week, 2 weeks, and they hit, and then all of a sudden they fall off. So we're basically, I think you said it in the interview, but we run it about an 80-20 rule. So like 80% of ads are just iteration, 20% are fresh ideas. And we just do that week over week, and we just keep going. And then eventually the ads that hit, usually it's like the second or third version that hits even more. So over the last month, I would say basically Facebook ads have been really hard for so many people. And for us, we've kind of remained fairly consistent. The US has been down a little bit, but I think it's kind of down for most people, but it's still been really profitable. And then our Canadian business is doing kind of better than ever. And it's really just because the ad copy and content we've changed, and just we've lost winners quickly, and then we found new ones just as fast. So it's kind of evened out.
That 80-20 rule is great because your that 80% then is just refining, just trying to find, gold, whether it's gold coin testing or just finding the elements in each ad that work best. And then that allows you to that fuels your 20% as well. Even though you're going in a different direction entirely, you can still bring in aspects that you learn from that 80% to make sure that the 20% gets continually better.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other thing, it's sometimes actually really hard to come up with new concepts. Just it sounds easy, it sounds like the fun part, but actually at times it's quite difficult.
How do you do it? How do you come up with new angles?
Yeah, I guess what we do is our team we're on Instagram, we're the Bush Buds, and it's just sharing content that we see that we really like, and from there you can kind of try to replicate. The tough part is we don't have like a creative agency in house or anything, so we're trying to replicate these like beautiful videos people have done on a smaller scale. So at one point soon, that is something we might have to bring on, is kind of videography to make like ads to go to a next level. But for the most part, yeah, it's just sharing content, looking at ads library. We've got quite a few brands that we just find interesting. And actually, most of them are not even related to skincare whatsoever. They're just in like different industries, but they have cool concepts. So we're always just checking in on kind of our favorites.
What about SMS? I was looking at your Twitter feed, and I saw about sort of an experiment that you guys ran, sending out SMS messages looking for responses. Can you talk a little bit about your overall sort of SMS company strategy, and then maybe specifically about that experiment?
Yeah, so we've got two, email and SMS. We have kind of a similar vibe to it. So we do a lot of plain text emails that are quite personal to the folks that we're kind of asking. And then SMS, we do a lot of question-based. So it's really just quick things like, hey, do you have a product idea for us? Or, hey, we're meeting with the lab shortly. Like we meet with them all the time. It's like, do you have any feedback or ingredients you're liking right now that we can look into? So those questions actually, they drive tons of engagement. And recently, the big one that we did was we had no business sending this text message and asking for a question. What we said was, hey, we're launching, or it was a picture and it had a new hat that we were doing as a free giveaway. So we say, hey, do you like my hat? Text back to find out how to get one. So we had like thousands of texts back being like, how do I get a hat? How do I get a hat? And then we personally responded, or we set out a few macros to send to them. But we read like every single text we got back, and some of them were super fun and creative. So those things, what we've realized is it's helped, especially asking for product suggestions has been just unbelievable because it validates our roadmap. And it also allows us, certain customers, we can say like, hey, we're actually doing that. It's going to launch in Q4. So people get really excited for those. And for us, like, we're happy to give away our roadmap if someone brings up the idea. So yeah, no, those have worked well. You just have to have the staff to be able to handle them, because it is a lot of work every single day.
It's one of those sort of things that doesn't scale in a way, right? That we talk about on the podcast a lot, is that just that personal touch that you can get. I can imagine it would take a couple of your employees like a lot of their time responding to all that.
Yeah, if you do something big like a campaign where you ask, it's basically the whole team gets together for the day and just fires through them all. But our strategy for how we do, say, SMS and email, we actually have two emails that we know get such a response that at certain times, if like email volume is up, we just shut those flows off because they get like, I don't know what it is. I think it's close to like 15% response.
Wow.
Like, so when we're getting too many of those, we just shut them off. And then we turn them back on when we're ready. But yeah, we're actually, the customer service team is just two folks right now. So they get pretty busy at times, and we all chip in and help in Georges whenever we can.
Nice. Oh, and a Georges or Gorgeous fan. That's great. What platform do you use for your email and SMS?
Yeah, we use Klaviyo or Klaviyo or whatever you call it for email, and it's been great. We used MailChimp in the early days and turned off, and then right now we use PostScript for SMS, and
Nice.
they've been great for us to work with. We tried the Klaviyo email and SMS and had a tough time with it, I found. So for now, we treat them as kind of two different marketing models versus like melding them together.
Got it.
And yeah, I don't know. I bet lots of people have different opinions on it, but I actually feel pretty good about the two separate channels altogether.
Very cool. Well, Klaviyo has come on as a full half sponsor of the newsletter and podcast, so we love it when we get to name drop them.
Nice. Yeah,
We're
no,
chatting
their
actually right now.
email is incredible.
Yeah.
It's moving from MailChimp there. That was at the point when we were going from say $150,000 a year to the 1.8 million. They were at the start of that transition.
And have you done that all internally, like your whole email program, or have you leveraged any outside resources for that?
No, so for our company, for every single email content creative, we do in-house. So our team is basically a marketing manager, kind of runs it all and brand growth. And then we outsource paid ads. We brought on a consultant to help us, and we work kind of very close all the time. But that took a long time to outsource. And for me, I ran all the ads for the first, I think it was almost 4 years, which
Wow.
got I did up until about a month ago, I did every single image in an ad that you'd ever see on Bushbalm. And
And
I
you did the
just,
image in Canva or something.
yeah, no, I use Keynote. I use Keynote for all of those, which was not ideal. Now I use Illustrator. I'm a little more advanced,
Oh,
apparently.
good. Highbrow.
Yeah.
I love it. You also, I saw another great thread you wrote here on customer service. You mentioned it earlier. How pivotal has customer service been in terms of your focus for growing the brand?
Yeah, so that's one thing I've been pretty passionate about is we've kept customer service in-house just for the reason that I think right now we're so new that it's so critical to get all the feedback. And we keep spreadsheets on what people say for like, hey, your roadmap, you should do this, you should do that. Obviously, you're not going to 100% listen to exactly what the customer says, but it's been great for validating ideas we've had, as well as like build new ideas going forward. So I think right now we're so critical to have customer service like close and in-house, but in the future we'll grow and scale and we'll have a remote team. But right now customer service is kind of all in office. We're all like together. We're chatting about new ideas every single day. So that's been I'm just really passionate about it in the early stages being a part of the team.
Can you think of a point where customer service, like a specific point maybe, where customer service really fed a product insight that helped you either develop a new product or potentially developed a new angle to sell existing products?
Yeah, so the one was actually our specific dark spot treatment. So that product wasn't in our roadmap. We didn't have eyes on that at all, and we actually got a lot of customers just saying, "Hey, I struggle with this skin challenge. You guys should make a product. It fits with what you're doing." So that one literally, we had no idea that we weren't thinking about it whatsoever, and then we had so many customers after our first wave of really strong sales. A lot of the repeat customers were kind of saying those things. So that drives it. And then actually probably the number one thing it drives for future things is scent. So if we have any sort of aromas for products, that almost always comes from an idea through a customer kind of reaching out or replying to one of our emails.
That is awesome. I love that story. Cool. I wanted to go back into, because we talked about how in the beginning you sort of you forewent Wholesale to focus specifically on D2C to develop. It's so smart to develop that direct connection to your customer, which you've mentioned through customer service and all these things. It's so critical to get that ember glowing, through those methods. But it sounds like you've now revisited Wholesale. Can you talk a little bit about that process and what that's been like?
Yeah, so yeah, the early days we started direct to consumer. It was so time consuming to kind of bring on Wholesale. So now we've split it up into what I call direct to consumer, And then we have like direct to consumer B2B is kind of what I call it. So that's really the like self-serve B2B customers. So we've started to build that out. So we have a lot of people sign up, they go through the flow, they get approved, and then they become a wholesaler at Bushbalm and they buy their own products. So that's been a nice transition. It was a lot of work to figure out how to make it so they can do all of those things. But now that it's running smoothly, it's really nice. And we have a lot of email flows set up for those customers. It's excellent. And then now we're moving into the like larger retail plays, which we haven't landed many big retailers yet. We're in the process with quite a few. And that all of a sudden, like big retail is really, you got to have like the right fulfillment partner or do it in house. You have to have someone on the supply chain side managing it. You have to be great at all kinds of things. Packaging has to be like world class. So that's our new, I would say, focus and priority. Next to D2C will, I think, always be our number one. But on the wholesale kind of large retail, we're putting a lot of focus this year to really expand. Because yeah, right now we're not in really any big retailers yet.
Nice. Okay. Now, as CEO, it sounds like you have at this stage in your company relatively, relatively small still. Not in terms of revenue, like that ratio between staff and revenue sounds amazing. But where do you find your focus as CEO these days most?
Yeah. So the main thing that I've kind of taken on, especially, is the roadmap. So working on where we're going and what kind of our product line will take, as well as what we do is we work a lot with kind of not people to get financing from, but we take a lot of advice to help like plan the future of the company. So I'm taking a lot of calls with say investors who are giving us advice, who might want to invest, but they're not quite there yet, or we're not there yet. So I'm kind of managing that side. And then the other thing, which has been really hard for me to understand and take on, is really just like setting the goals for the team. So like what do I want the folks to work on, and trying to stay higher than the tactics, so then they can decide what those are. But that's super hard because I did the tactics for the first 5 years. So I'm still in that mindset. But yeah, so my day to day would really look at building out the roadmap and the positioning of how we're positioning the company, and then helping the team do, I would say, kind of strategic things when it comes to, say, the value of the company. So a basic example is I'm really hardcore about kind of our Google Drive and our organization and making sure we document everything and have the folders all set up, because I think in the future it'll just make new hires' lives easier. And then also, say, investors or anything like that, they'll know that we have all the documents, everything we need, because it's there. So my life is kind of finding those opportunities and making sure we're set up to kind of look after them. And then there's the other side of it, just like the finances and like how much kind of income we have per order and what can we do with that and the spend that goes out. So a little bit of that, but I try to give the team as much autonomy, but doing the tactics for 5 years makes it hard.
And that's where the goals come in. I'm going through this right now. Actually, this week I've got meetings set up with my team next week to lay down my thoughts on the high level goals based on the roadmap. And you mentioned it earlier. It's like when you're in the trenches and you're all working together, it's very easy just to see the work that's directly in front of you. But you get so much benefit by aligning with your team on goals, because then it just allows them to have more autonomy because they know what their goals are. They can kind of go head down and run at that goal.
Yeah, I realized how much easier it is, because like the one thing I was doing was I would say we need to set up this tool, we need to do this, we need to do this, and then what I realized is we didn't actually need to do any of those things. I needed to say we want to have, say, imagine we did 5 testimonial videos in the next quarter. Like that seems like a pretty reasonable goal. But if I didn't say that, the team might work on other things. Whereas now I said that, and they're just getting testimonial videos left, right, and center. And they're like, "Why did you say 5? That's such a low number." And I'm like, because we haven't done it before. We've never had testimonial videos. But now that I gave them that goal, it doesn't really matter the tool. I was trying to say, set up the tool that we're doing. We pay for it. It does this. They're saying like, "Oh, we're just emailing customers quickly and getting them." And I'm like, well, maybe we don't even need the tool. So it was me kind of pestering them. And now I'm just kind of opening it up to say, hey, figure out how to do it. You got it. And they're showing the results pretty quickly.
Love it. Great advice to founders out there. I have a quote here that I wanted to ask you about. It came from the pre-interview here. You talked about the death of a D2C brand and what that looks like. So, like, what do you consider the death of a D2C brand? What's the biggest fault that a D2C brand that's had some success can sort of do?
Yeah, maybe that's a bit harsh, but at the same time, I really do think as a D2C brand, you have to innovate a lot and you have to bring out new products. You have to nurture your audience and kind of keep them engaged. Because even if you are a product that's a replenishable product, you still want to keep them on different things because maybe they'll grow out of your product or something will happen. You have to keep it really interesting and expand. And if you really want to scale revenue, like the number one way will be to bring out new items that people really like. And for us, I think in most D2C brands is you'll have one hero product and it'll probably be 80% of your revenue. It's probably the 80-20 rule. Like you'll have something that drives everything. And our business, what we're trying to do is, you know what, we want to strive to have a second hero product in a different category, which it's maybe aggressive to do, but at the same time, that's us like innovating for the future. So I think if we stuck with our one hero product, there'd be like several other incumbents, they come up and then we'd have lots of competition. And I think that's how you can potentially die as a D2C brand. You just don't do something new and you don't bring something else to market. So our goal is every quarter, let's launch new product all the time.
I love it. And it's also, you guys also have to innovate on that marketing side. You have to constantly be innovating in the way you're connecting to your consumers. We just had Kellogg's. We just released our Kellogg's podcast last week. And I'm really interested in the way that these new CPG and D2C brands are going to end up building companies. Because I think about Kellogg's, I think about Unilever, and it's like they're innovating like crazy too, and innovating probably in the last year more than they have probably in the last 10 years potentially in some ways. And I'm just really interested, with these big brands, it's like they would get their relationships with their stores, with retail, and they could just those would be the channels of growth. Whereas with D2C, like you really have to be innovating in all the ways that you can, whether that's in how you connect to your customers, in your marketing channels, in your angles, as you're constantly doing with the velocity there, and then specifically in products as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that episode with Kellogg's, I think they said something interesting about they spend a certain amount to see if they're going to have an effective product. And that's something we've never done. What we did is we launched a limited edition product, but in the future, that's one strategy we want to actually do. Now that we've locked down supply chain, we're a bit better at it. We can actually do kind of smaller runs of something and test it for a quarter and see if it sells. And if it does really well, bring it back. So that's one way we want to kind of de-risk the company or take out any of the concern of, hey, we're launching a product every quarter. Well, we're going to launch one, but know that if it doesn't work after 3 months, we're going to pull back. And if it does work, we're going to accelerate. So that's just like taking their advice. That's something we want to do. But as you build out supply chain, obviously it's tricky to manage that. And you'll have probably a sellout period at some point. But for us, we've sold out quite a few times and it adds a little bit to the hype. But it's always disappointing for sure.
Yeah, when you can't get that bomb and you need it, it's
yeah, for sure.
Very cool. I wanted one more question about Amazon. What's been your Amazon strategy? Have you launched there yet?
No, we haven't launched on Amazon yet. It's one that I think over the years things have changed. I've like listened to a lot on just like the valuation and kind of how investors value those Amazon sales, whether it's like below D2C. It seems like these days Amazon sales are starting to be valued similar. So that's actually going up. So yeah, we actually had a meeting today about Amazon and how we want to tackle it and what we want to do. But yeah, no, right now we're not on Amazon. Our priority, I would say, is let's grow on the retail front and work with some kind of large retailers. And Amazon's something that we don't want to miss if it is such a big opportunity. And I really do think it is. But right now we're kind of holding until a couple other moving pieces fall, and then we'll really consider Amazon for sure. Because it's the search on it is just massive.
And you guys will be pretty well positioned maybe versus other brands just because of your recognition and the way you've actually branded your product as the problem it solves in a way, right? I imagine that's going to help.
Yeah, exactly. And that actually has helped a lot for us just on Google search. So I imagine Amazon might be a bit more difficult, but in general, yeah, like ingrown hair treatment is very specific and actually Googled quite a bit. So yeah, I think we're well positioned to go on Amazon. We're just the it's always that like, what do you turn off and what do you keep going? And we're kind of in this like stuck phase trying to navigate the waters of Amazon. And I think soon we probably will.
Or you just bring on a specialist agency like Pilot House.
I didn't know you did that. We've actually
Yeah.
talked with a lot of agencies just to understand kind of who's going through it and what are the, I don't know what you call it, but what are like the actual structures that you can do with different agencies. It seems like there's many different ones. So yeah, we're eager to chat with anyone. Actually, we're in the phase of like we probably won't launch yet, but we want to understand it. So we're just like
Nice.
learning with different people.
Well, we have launched our creative agency. This all this is, by the way. This is just one long pitch for Pilot House. But no, this is
Love
amazing.
it.
I wanted to ask quickly. We've got just a few rapid fire questions. What can you name a couple other D2C brands that you're a big fan of? Either the products, their marketing, both.
I would say Summer Fridays is beautiful. They do a great job. They're launching products left, right, and center. Just incredible. There's one other brand called Takis, I think it is. And from a branding perspective, I really admire kind of what they're doing and how it all looks. And then, yeah, there's a lot of websites. We're launching a new site, so we're going through kind of a lot of the skincare side, and really admire My Billy and what they do. They've just got like an incredible website, branding, just beautiful, clever, smart. So yeah, those are a few for sure. But Summer Fridays is by far the one that we look up to the most.
Nice. Summer Fridays. Very cool. I'm just looking at all these. Nice. We'll list them in the show notes. Here's the next question. If we gave you a $50,000 grant to spend on your marketing, where would you put it and why?
Oof, that is a tough question. I think what I would do is probably spend like half of it on like creative, and get people to like do videos and all kinds of different things. And actually, I'd probably spend a good $25,000 on some sort of larger campaign, or the whole 50,000 on a big influencer campaign, because 50,000 would go a long way. And I would rather do it as a influencer campaign where we partnered more so we could use the content in our ads, on our website, that kind of thing. Whereas most influencer campaigns are, it's a post, it goes up at this time, and then you can't use the image. So I think I would spend more on getting the images and being able to use them in creative.
I love it. Yeah, that's what we propose all the time with our creative, making sure that you can reuse that creative either through a whitelisted type scenario or directly just in ads. I think that would be a great idea. Do you have in your mind like who your ideal influencer would be?
We talk a little bit about it. Like I think that our ideal influencer would be someone who's very vocal, and like a female who's very vocal and actually talks a lot about kind of real challenges with their skin or whatever it might be. That's something that we're always on the lookout for, and we actually haven't looked at any like massive celebrities who are who are doing that. We seem to find these like niche influencers who talk a lot about what we talk about.
I think here this my mind, I heard someone talk about Instagram versus TikTok the other day, and they said Instagram is where people put, their best lives, their best selves. Like you're going to look at someone
Yeah.
else's Instagram feed and you're going to feel bad. If you're going to go through someone's TikToks, you're going to find out more like how maybe depressed they are or how anxious they are, or like it's a lot more transparent. TikTok is versus something like Instagram. So I could see that being a really good platform for you. Like the amount of funny women or men that I have in my feed that are just like laying their sort of emotions and their thoughts and their insecurities bare, actually might be a really, really great fit for what you guys are doing in the pubic region.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have to get the team. What they say is at night when they're in bed, they go on TikTok and Instagram, and that's how they find most of our influencers we partner with. But yeah, no, that's a great idea actually, because for us, honestly, the truthful thing about our content and also our influencer campaigns is the more real they are, the more effective it is. And whether it's like even on Instagram, you'll see like before and after pictures from us. The more real it is, the better it does. So that's our strategy to keep as much of that. But at the same time, in Instagram, you want to make it look nice in case a retailer's looking at it. You can't have all real. So it's a tough balance to have. But yeah, the most effective content is for sure real, and like people want something heartfelt and like something that's changed your life. Like that really kicks in for people.
And they love not taboo, but things that are not illicit either, but just like the hint of something, bikini line or so. Just those kinds of things just are such hooks as well. So I really think you'll have some success on TikTok when you jump on there.
For sure.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. So if people want to get in touch with you, you're active on Twitter. How do you suggest that they do that?
Yeah, just follow me on Twitter or send me a DM on Twitter. I find I'm kind of a yo-yo on Twitter where I'm really active and then I'm not very active. So I'm trying as best as I can right now to be as active as possible because I'm kind of shocked at how much good content is on Twitter and how many great kind of DTC founders are out there chatting on Twitter. So yeah, feel free to engage with me there. I'd love to chat kind of with anyone. And this is great. I'm a huge fan of the newsletter. I find it's the most tactical newsletter and it gives very specific, concrete things, whereas most other newsletters are kind of news related. So I really appreciate and kind of love kind of getting the newsletter whenever it comes in.
Massively appreciate it. I was going to hit you up after this because we're trying to get all of our guests, if they are fans, to say so. We're going to put it into a supercut. I don't even have to ask you. You came right out and did it. Thank you so much. And if you come to Victoria, I hear you may be coming to Victoria for one of these B2B type sales channels that you're looking at growing out. Excuse the pun. You definitely have to hit me up, and we have to have a beer here in Victoria if you come this way.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely will have a trip. I'm not sure if it'll be this year or next year, but we've got a big wholesale account out there. So I've told them for the last 4 years that I'll come visit. So nice. Soon, we'll have a beer in Victoria.
Hopefully it's in the summer.
Always hopefully, actually.
Although escaping Ottawa in the winter to come to the gray, warm winter that is Victoria is not a bad idea either. So you can't go wrong. Yeah,
Ottawa's a tough place in the winter, but nice. It's good in the summer.
I love it. Okay, man. Thank you so much for coming on today, and we'll catch you soon.
Yeah, right on. All right, man.
Bye.
This is good. Cheers.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can do that right now at directtoconsumer.co. I'm Eric Dick, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.